Adam, are you happy with Arsenal's start? And I guess probably first and foremost, how are you feeling day after North London derby?
Um, on the North London derby, I think I felt at the time pretty disappointed. And then the more it sat with me, the kind of more accepting I've come about the result. It's like we didn't lose, so it's not the end of the world. We're still unbeaten, which is obviously a good thing. I just can't help but look at it as a missed opportunity to kind of take an extra kind of step and push on again after a couple of more positive results, mainly sort of the one in the Champions League and then the Man United game as well, where I thought this was an opportunity to really stamp our authority on the season a little bit, because it feels like we've kind of been both a little bit in the games and also sort of the narrative of the season. We've been passengers a little bit so far, I think.
What do you mean by that?
Well, not even necessarily that it matters who's being talked about, but I think it kind of is indicative of upward trajectory of a lot of other teams, that everyone came into the season putting Arsenal as kind of, well, not everyone. A lot of people came into the season and put Arsenal as second, the ones that are most likely to challenge City. And I think in terms of the popular perception of how teams are doing, from a positive perspective, there's a lot of focus on Brighton, rightly, because they're playing good football. I think there's quite a lot of focus on Liverpool, because I think people are kind of surprised that perhaps the performances aren't there in a holistic sense, but they're right up there in the table. And then obviously there's a lot of focus on Spurs, because the style of play is completely different to what it was last season. And it seems like Arsenal are a little bit of an afterthought, which is fine. Like I don't necessarily care about it, but I think it is indicative of the fact that we haven't really hit our stride yet. I think
It's
that's fair to
indicative
say.
of expectations, isn't it? So
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
kind of
and
going back to your first point, that everybody's kind of majority of people predict you to finish second or at least be City's closest challengers for the
mm,
title. So that's why the performances or perhaps results of, I mean, Liverpool have had a difficult run of fixtures, to be honest, and have had a really good start. Brighton's obviously going to get headlines. Tottenham, as you mentioned, change of complete philosophy, basically.
mm.
Whereas we know what we get with yours, right? So maybe it's a
Yeah,
little bit more of that.
yeah, and that was part of my disappointment and kind of reflecting on the game on Sunday. Was, I think, to be honest, I think we should have won. Although I can understand people coming out of it and saying a draw is a fair result, because I think we
Ah,
actually
yes.
was fairly even. Uh, but I
Shut
think
up, Adam. It was a fair result, honestly, mate.
no, I can understand that perspective, and I totally get, and I think that's fair. I'm coming at it from the point of view that in the first half, I think we were dominant, and then
Oh yeah,
half
massively.
time,
To be honest, I spent the first 35 minutes looking for the halftime whistle, mate. So I
well,
get that.
exactly. And I think we let you back into the game twice with individual mistakes. And although David Raya pulls off like an unbelievable save, which like 9 times out of 10 is probably a goal, even then, I think your goal comes from Saka pressing in too quickly on Madison, when I think he should have just held back a little bit.
Still throwing his dart,
And
wasn't
no, I don't think he was. I think he had come round by then. And then Son finishes that move in the box, surrounded by three defenders, which is a good finish. It's a very good finish, and it's good work from Madison in the build-up. But I think, like you say, the raised expectations. I'm looking at four Arsenal players on that goal who realistically should have done better. And then you go into halftime 1-1, and that's, you never want to let you know it. I'm sure you both know it as well as I do. In a rivalry game, you never want to let the opponents back into it if you're on top at half time. And then Declan Rice coming off, I think, changed things massively for us. Jorginho, just, I think he's a decent player and he's been pretty decent for us so far, but he's just not the same type of player, and we don't have enough athleticism in that midfield to kind of cover for Jorginho's lack of mobility and lack of pace. And it doesn't help that he gives the ball away for the goal, and was picked. He had his pocket picked for a couple of other chances too, which is, and that kind of combines to why I think Arsenal could have won. Even though I do understand what people are saying, it's a fair result.